Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Farm to Fame podcast, Conversations with Ali Cox. It's incredible to be here with my dear friend and absolutely dynamo of a marketing, I'm just going to call it comrade, Denise Junqueiro. Welcome, Denise. So thrilled to have you to the live pod.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've seen some friends also on it, so it's really, really great. And it's so great to see you. It's been so long.
I know. What I really want are all my podcast friends to all be in the same room and just like for us just to like
Yes.
have really low music so we can talk really fast because we have so many things like that are so dynamic.
Got to get it all in. Got to get it all in.
Okay, so Denise, thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
I have respected you since the second we were introduced by a wonderful mutual friend who I think was a friend from the California Leadership.
Yes, Rochelle.
Yeah, California Leadership, Ag Leadership.
Yep.
And Rochelle Antonetti, she'd be another great podcast guest. But Denise, your background across working for the USDA to the California Fig Advisory Board to the California Tree Fruit Agreement to another incredible commodity board, the California Olive Committee, is so incredible. But your baseline of commodity work, then transitioning into one of the most landmark marketing positions and tasks, taking Mission, being part of the group that took Mission Produce public. There's only like 5 or 6 publicly traded produce companies. So you're in like a very small group of marketing leads who actually did that. I want to talk so much about that. And then, of course, you took a little stint in eggs with Happy Eggs. Appeal, doing some ag and food tech, and then fresh formulaics. And now you're the director of customer and business development for Westfalia Fruit. So background is like so aspirational and just so cool. And I was hoping we could kick off by talking a little bit about how your time at like the USDA back in the year, like let's not age ourselves, but it was like 22 years ago.
Oh yeah.
How did that sort of like that just seems like the best foundation. And I'm just curious how that foundation like helped like inform like commodity board work and now even like branded work.
Yeah, I think it's a really great question. And I think your life sometimes will take you to places or directions that you never anticipated. And I was fortunate enough that I went to Fresno State in California, and I was applying for internships very actively. And so USDA started as an internship for me.
Okay.
And at the time, the administrator for fruit and veg actually was from California. And he was from Fresno. And that year was his last year, and he wanted to bring Fresno State students. So I applied and I got in, and that began my journey. And what was really interesting about it was I spent 2 years there. I spent my summers in DC, and then I spent my school year actually at the Fresno office.
Okay.
And the reason it set my foundation was because I got very clear about policy work. And policy work and policies actually rule most things. And so even still to this day, working on the private side, I understand things like PACA, and I understand things like standards, and I understand how those all come to be. And so it was a really wonderful foundation for me. It was also just really great to work and live in DC as well.
And then I can see how that was a natural layup then into commodity work, right?
Yes.
It's because it's like the California marketing order and understanding like the agreement with like USDA. Like how did you think, like, I just would love to know more about that. And like, what did like commodity board marketing look like for you then? I mean, we at Noble West, we do a lot of commodity work. We love working with different kinds of commodity teams. And because honestly, it's an opportunity for my team to work with growers directly, because growers directly are leading the promotions department and the boards. So like, I would just love to know more about sort of like how that next step of commodity work sort of informed like your, like kind of your background.
Yeah, it was truly what I loved to do. And I had a really unique opportunity where I actually could have went and worked for USDA full time, but I'm a pretty tenacious and driven person. And what I realized was if I went and worked in DC,
yes,
I would not be connected.
Let's underscore that to that. Yes, I can affirm.
Yeah.
Tenacious is
Yes.
for that.
Yes. And so I realized very quickly that if I went and worked in DC, I was going to be removed from the grower and the farmer. And I love working with the grower, and I love working with growers, and I love just being so close to the land. But if I worked in the field office, I was a messenger, and I really like to be a part of the solution. So I knew that that wasn't going to work for me. So what was a good fit was commodity boards. And really, I loved being able to bring to life those commodities, and also bring to life the ability to sell in that commodity in a different way and find solutions for those growers just outside of their packers. Because as an industry rep, you can find solutions that support the whole industry and can also provide support to those packers and bring some unity, and drive consumption in a different way by bringing everything together. And, everything can really rise together. So I find them to be very supportive. I loved that work. I loved working on behalf of industries as a whole. And for me, I think, and I loved the fact that I've worked in so many different commodities. I was actually just having dinner with some friends.
Like so many. Let's give that's the number.
Oh, ever since I went to Appeal, there's been quite more, because I worked in about 5 different commodities just with Appeal.
Okay.
So it's about 8 or 9 at this point. So yeah.
Figs, olives,
peaches, plums, nectarines, olives, of course, avocados, limes, mangoes. Yeah, so we're about 8.
So good.
I know. I love that part of it.
I know.
But I really do love avocados. That's why I'm back in it. It's been good.
It's a wheelhouse situation.
It is. But commodity boards are a really, really great tool when they're used properly and when people lean into them in the right ways.
Can you give an example of how you lean in? That's I would love to know.
Yeah.
How do you lean into that? What should a brand be doing, and what should a farmer be doing?
Yeah, I think one of the things that sometimes happens is, especially a grower, they're looking at their bottom line, and then they're looking at the money being spent into a commodity board, and you don't always directly see the ROI. And sometimes I think we can be a little too transactional in things. And commodity boards are really there to be a place where you can come together and utilize your resources together. And sometimes when things get a little tough, it's hard to live in that as a grower. And I think sometimes we can, as an industry or as a community, shoot ourselves in the foot because we're leaning too much into whatever that pain is right then, instead of utilizing the board and the commodity group to help leverage you into the next stage. Now, what's tough sometimes is you're working with everybody. And so sometimes with those groups, everybody's money is nobody's money, and everybody's vote is also nobody's vote. And so, it's not always easy bringing everybody together to move in the same direction, especially when you're trying to meet many people's needs. But I really see them as extremely beneficial because they can build export programs, and they can work on policy with the government to support you, and they can create grades and standards that support you. And it's a way for you to, I even see bigger organizations, which I've worked for, a very large grower, packer, shipper. The baseline of those commodity groups too still can be very, very helpful, even when you have the resources that you don't necessarily need that as much. Right. But when that money is being spent for the whole industry to drive in one direction to create change on behalf of the commodity, that is a good source of resources. And what I mean by that is, I always look at it as like you're a family. I think commodities are a family. And so, I come from, at the time when I was younger, it was a rural community in California, farming community. And I could not separate from my family. I was a Junqueiro. Everybody knew the Junqueiros. Everybody associated me as a Junqueiro. And I think it's the same with commodities. If you're a peach grower, you're associated with the guy down the street that's a peach grower.
Yeah, we're all in it together.
We're all in it together. And I know that's not always fun. And I know we don't always agree with what our cousin down the road does, but we're family. And so that's really how I see commodities, and that's how I see things in the industry. And so when people are able to really lean into that, you're going to get the benefit of the money being spent there.
Yeah.
You really will.
And it's a long tail, right?
Yes.
It's a long tail investment. And there's always lots of thoughts about that.
And you have to partake. You have to be able to be on the committees, or have somebody from your organization be on the committees and be on the board, so that you're bringing your level of expertise and vantage point for the whole conversation and for that decision making. And that's not always easy. That is not always easy to do, because you're limited with your resources, and we're in produce and everything is on fire all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. For sure. Okay. So Denise, you went from working on as a program director at the California Olive Committee, which I want to talk about. So many things to talk about there. But I want to make sure we talk about that jump from the California Olive Committee. And I would love if you could share a little bit. Again, there are just a handful of publicly traded companies. Limonera, there's Fresh Del Monte, there's,
you used to be Calavo, but Mission just bought Calavo.
So Mission's bigger. Mission, and I'm sure that I would love for somebody to fact check this, and ChatGPT will help us too. But I would love to know. That's when we became friends. Is when you're in the heart of Mission, and that was I think 10 or so years ago. And I would love if you just sort of talk about what did it take as the comms and marketing lead to get Mission listed and get that IPO through? Because I don't think that any of us coming from ag have you are truly in a small fraternity of 5 or 6 leads who have done that. So I would love if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about the process and what that looked like, especially with in ag, where our supply chain is dependent on so many uncontrollables.
Yeah, I think what was great in so many ways was, before we went public, of course, marketing was supportive. Marketing was an arm. Marketing was part of the picture at Mission. But even through the first beginning of the process, I don't think anybody anticipated marketing was going to be such a big part of us going public. So many people see it as a finance thing, and so many people see it. And, we got to a certain point where my CFO and CEO came and said, "Hey, Denise, we're currently reviewing, what stock exchange we're going to be going on. And they have all these marketing components. We need you to come to these meetings." And I had no idea what I was walking into at all, at all. And so I just thought that I was going to have to give some brand direction. That's really what I thought.
Here's our deck. Here's my deck.
Here's my guidelines. Call me if you need me to check something. So, I come into these meetings with the CFO, and I'm in it. And at that time, it was during COVID, so everything was virtual. So it was also a very unique thing for the banks. It was a very unique thing for the stock exchanges, for us to all be doing this virtually. So I think my first meeting was with the New York Stock Exchange. And so their group all gets online, and everybody's figuring out how to do this virtually.
Right.
And they start going through the program of what it means to be publicly, listed with them, what the day would look like, what the things would look like. Here's all the elements, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And so then we also, we do the same thing with NASDAQ. And then, the team has hired an investor relations team. So I'm talking with them, and they're kind of communicating to me that they've got a PR team and so forth. And so I'm looking at everything, and I tell our CFO and I tell our CEO, "Hey, I think you need to hire a PR team to do this. There's so much of this," not thinking that I was actually going to be a part of it. I thought I just needed to give them the advice. No, that's not what happened. And so I gave the advice, but then about a week later, we realized that there's so much more to these packages. and my CFO realizes, hey, based on his point of view and what the needs were from the financial piece, there really what the lever was marketing. Who was going to give us the most? What was going to be the most beneficial for us as a company based on who we were to go with? So they said, Denise, I need you to figure this out. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was graciously put in touch with the CMO at the time of Grocery Outlet, who had just taken their company public the year before. And I'd been put in contact with a few other people that really kind of mentored me through the process. And was
wow.
Really,
okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I was learning as I went.
Yeah.
We were all learning as we went. And I dove in fast. I dove in quick. And I schooled up very quickly. And I would say also I took some pretty large risks because as I got in a little deeper, I really believed that we needed to make some changes on the way we were kind of doing things. And I went to our CFO and I told our CEO, I think we need to make some adjustments and we need to do these things. And I think we need to spend this level of money to create this type of asset. And that felt a little foreign at first, but we decided to do it. And I basically took on with a very large firm to create a video within, I think it was 2 to 3 weeks of telling our whole storyline. And I had to write the script. And so I spent many, many nights writing our whole story, which thank goodness, right before that was Mission's 35th anniversary. So I had been interviewing the men that worked with Steve starting the company. So I knew it a little bit. And I'd already started building it. So I wrote this, we did this video, but I think the thing that's very interesting is there's so much that goes into it from a marketing and PR perspective that people don't always realize. And it's, how is the day going to go? How is your publicly like the day you're listed, the moment you're listed, how is that going to go? And so I ended up negotiating our deal and who we ended up going with our CFO and our CEO.
Which was NASDAQ, right?
It was NASDAQ, yeah. It was NASDAQ. They were the most progressive at the time. Mission's a very progressive company. Mission's a very driven company. And we just felt NASDAQ was going to be a really, really good match for us on that. But yeah, it was COVID. So I was up at 4 o'clock every morning running the show for the banks. So Steve and Brian could, give their presentation on what's the road show. Cause we weren't on the road in a plane. We were behind screens. And, it was very much of how is Mission going to represent itself? How is Mission going to show up? So I never anticipated in my career working with this many bankers, investment relations people, learning any of that. And I did. And I loved it. I mean, my job though did become quarterly earnings and that sort of thing. And so towards the end, I really missed being with the customer. I really love being in produce. I would love retail. I love consumers and all of that sort of thing. It was a great journey and I loved being a part of that and understanding all of that. But the heart of who I am is really consumers and what drives behaviors and bringing fresh fruits and vegetables to tables. So yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah. For sure. And I can only imagine that your point of view can never go back, right? Because now after being in those conversations, like you actually now really know how to figure out how valuable a brand is.
Oh, yes. And
I think we like our own smoke. I think we like our own ideas. We get feelings about things. There's emotions in it. Now you're like, oh no, I know how. You want to know what this brand is worth? I actually have seen the math of how an ROI on a brand is calculated.
Yes. And here's the deal. Marketing, especially in produce, tends to be the third thing thought of. And at the time, probably maybe about a year before, we had done a bit of a refresh. And, there wasn't money that wanted to be spent on a brand and so forth. And so we still did a refresh, but we didn't do it as a rebrand. but Mission had become such a large dominating player, yet our brand wasn't representing us that way. And so my team and I had done a kind of a refresh of just our messaging and the way we looked and that sort of thing. And if we wouldn't have done that, we would have not been set up for the level of success that we had going public. And so it was, and at that point in time too, like, my CFO became so supportive and really understood the benefits of marketing after that. And I think sometimes so much we shortchange ourselves as a company of not really realizing the way that you're presenting yourself, and the image is important. I know we don't always see the ROI, but it is so important. And, I used to say all the time, like, you don't show up to an interview in jeans and then think they're going to think that you're, the best. Like, especially if you're working in suits, like that's not going to be. So, that was kind of my pitch to the team at the time, before this all even happened, that we redo our website and then and then we spend the money to do those sorts of things. And thank goodness we did.
It's like, I always say, like, what do you want your front door to look like?
That is perfect. Yes.
Like, do we have weeds? Is it broken? Are the windows broken? Like, does it work? Is it latchy? Is like, is that how you want your front door to look like? Because your website, and now honestly your extension of social media and everything else, it is the front door.
Yes, it is.
To the world, basically. And even though, I think that we talk about this, like, even though, like, the direct consumer, like, we're not selling D2C on fresh produce all that often. There are exceptions, but, like, we're not D2C. We are, we're selling through retailers, but still, like, we need to give those consumers enough credit that they actually, like, are interested in what, who we are, and how their food is grown, and by whom, and with what sort of ethos. Right. And I think that's where, again, I just think that, like, you have been such an incredible part of this industry, Denise, and so forward thinking and so dynamic, and just honestly evangelizing, like, ethos in every pocket. And you've worked at some incredible companies, including Happy Egg and Appeal, and now back at Westfalia. Like, I'm just so thrilled that you are such a dynamic force in our industry, and appreciate all of the, frankly, evangelism and galvanizing you have done. And that Mission Produce IPO is something that will just, I think I told you at the moment when it did IPO, I think I said, you will never unknow this. Like, you have a skill that will be forever valuable, and just forever valuable, and will be your differentiating quality forever. So congratulations. And
thank you. Well, I was just really, I was set up well. Mission was a phenomenal company to work for. Steve and Brian were phenomenal to work with. And so, I really just stepped into where they needed me, and we were a great team. And so, if they weren't as phenomenal and the company wasn't as phenomenal as it was, it would have never been a different story.
Been a different story. Well, now you're working at Westfalia. It's an incredible company. You're doing international marketing at the extreme level for avocados. And, my favorite quote is, like, who do you think you are, an avocado? You can't please everybody.
So we try our best. We definitely try our best. Yeah, it's great to be in avocados again. It's great to be working with another global leader, vertically integrated end to end. So, and what's really unique about Westfalia is it started in South Africa with a gentleman who really just wanted to give back to the land. And so the avocados started as a trust. And so, we have a really unique situation where we have the largest subtropical, basically, research facility for avocado rootstocks. So most of the avocado rootstocks in the world are actually from Hans Marinsky, who was our founder.
Incredible. I love it.
Really cool story too.
Thank you, Denise, for coming on. If people want to follow you and want to sort of, like, watch the kind of where you go, what would you recommend?
Really just look me up on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to know more about what you're doing and what's going on, especially if you're in the produce space. It's my favorite thing to do. So I love to meet more colleagues, and especially people are doing such cutting edge stuff now in this industry, and it's phenomenal. And I know you're helping a lot of those people bring their items to market. So it's been great to watch.
We love it. We love it. Amazing. Thank you again, Denise. And you're always welcome.
So great. Appreciate it.
Okay.